Hey guys, welcome to Hutsons-Hacks. Today we're going to be looking at the wonderful world of Python virtual environments and package dependency management by using requirements.txt. Okay, so what we're going to do is launch into our command prompt initially. So from here what we're going to need to do is a couple of steps to get our new environment created. So first of all we're going to list what version of Python we're on. So I'm going to use Python 3.7.9 to do this. Also, what I'm going to need is an external package, pip install virtual env. So we'll need to install that into our base directory, so our local Python install, it will need to have this. Okay, and if I want to examine what my structure of my directory looks like, I'm going to use dir. You can see that I've got this myenv directory set up already. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check where all my Python exes are located. So I can see that I've got this UC users app data virtual environment. Okay. So I'm going to use a special command now to create this virtual environment. So this is really important. So Python with a switch make virtual env. I'm going to use the path to my existing version of Python. So this will be the same as what we've obtained here. C users Gary H app data local programs, and obviously I'm going to spell something wrong and this is going to screw up, but fingers crossed it's not. And I'm going to call our virtual environment something. So this essentially says so far, run Python, make a virtual environment, use an existing installation of Python on my machine. So if you wanted a new version of Python to be used, you'd need to install it by going to run the executable from the Python website. But for now 3.7 is going to be good enough, but just bear that in mind. You'd have to find the location of the new version that you want to link it to on Windows. Again, in the blog post attached to this, I'll also link a link into the YouTube tutorial around how you can do this in Mac OS. It's not my tutorial, but it's someone else's who's got a Mac. And let's call this virtual environment a name. So we're going to call it Python because it's based on 3.7. I'm going to call it Gary VMV. And I've spelled something wrong, like I said. Oh, poo. C users. Oh dear. So let's see what's different between the one I put earlier. So for some reason it's my spelling, right? So that did work. Apology for that, guys. These things happen when you're live coding. So Python make virtual environment, and then the path. So what was different? What did I do wrong? I can't see any difference in that syntax, but if someone spots it, then please point it out. So now we've got this my virtual environment original. So if I then put my dir out, I should have this myenv origin. So I'm going to change. The next thing I'm going to do is what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially activate this virtual environment now. So to activate the virtual environment, I'm going to need to locate where the environment scripts file is. So you can do this two ways. I'll do it by just going down the directory tree first of all. So I'm going to go dir. So I'm going to go my env orig. Okay. venv. Okay. And then I'm going down the directory structure again. And then we've got this scripts file. Scripts. Then I'm going to dir again. And you can see we've got this activate.bat. So all I'm going to have to do now is activate.bat and run that. Okay. So that's activated that environment. You'll be able to see that it's activated by the parentheses. To deactivate, I'm going to do this, deactivate, and then that removes that environment activation. Clearing the screen now, but we're going to do this the second way. So I'm just going to change directory back up a few levels. So I'm out at my env again. So now I'm going to go. I'm going to say my venv orig. So we know it's in there. Scripts activate.bat. So that's how you do it in one line. Previously we went down the directory tree before, but that's shorthand. So it says look relative to my current directory. Then look in my environment original, scripts activate.bat. So now we've got this environment that's activated. And if I then pip list what's in my environment, I've got the basic pip packages so far. So what I'm going to do is do an initial pip install to make this different from the base setup. So I'll do something like, let's install NumPy. Okay, so if I pip list again, I should now have NumPy installed. So this is going to be different to the base install, and say that now I want to then port this across to other environments. We can do that in a second by generating a requirements.txt file. I'm probably just going to install one more thing, something like sklearn. Oops, pip install. So we're going to put scikit-learn in there. Just wait for that to finish. Well, it's taking its merry time, isn't it, today? Okay, that's done. So if I pip list again one final time. Perfect. I've got this list of different files from the original base install. So I'm going to clear my screen again here. And now what I want to do is do something called freezing the pip file. So pip freeze. So what this does is it gives me all the current versions of the packages. So the final step that you've got to do, and a way to export things from command line, is you'll see this a lot. So pip freeze, and then I'm going to go that way. So that one means push it out to a file. We can call this requirements.txt, which is the normal convention, or I could call this pip freeze some random name. It really doesn't matter what the file was called. Okay, so if I go to my environment now, so I've got this my environment original, and I've got these two requirements.txt's at the top. They'll both look exactly the same. If I open the text, you can see it's got all the packages that I need. Okay. So that's cool. That's generated this requirements.txt. I'll delete this one because that's just random. Okay, I could have done that in command line. I could have just rem or kill cls. So now I've got this environment. We're going to deactivate it because what we're going to do now is use this as our origin, so our source environment. We're going to end up creating a secondary environment now using the logic that we did earlier. And we're going to use that requirements.txt to install all the package dependencies in that new environment. So first of all, I'm going to use my command like we did before. I'm just going to, for cheating, I'm going to go back through the command list. To do this, if you didn't know this in command prompt, you just press up and it will find the whole history of what you've typed. So now I'm going to use this new virtual environment, and I'm not going to call it myenv original, I'm going to call it myenv new. It literally doesn't, I don't care what you call these things. Use some customization there. So that's created. So if I list that, I should have 3 environments now. I've got my environment original, and I'm going to actually remdir because some of my vmenv, I'm going to get rid of that. Directory is not empty. Okay, I can't do it then. I'll have to kill it off. I'll have to clear it all. Okay, so we've got myenv new. We're going to activate this myenv new. So we're going to do it like we did before, fire the whole line of commands. So we're going to do this my vmenv new scripts activate .bat. Okay. Scripts activate. I'm not having a good time at typing today. There we go. So we've got this now this new environment's activated. Okay. So if you pip list now, you should literally just have the base installs. Yeah, I've got the base installs there, just the setup wheels and the pip version and setup tools and the pip wheel to install things. Okay, so if I list again, you can see I've got this requirements.txt file at the top level. So I'm going to want to stay at this level because I want to use that requirements.txt file to install some new packages into my new virtual environment. So this is dead simple. You can go pip install R, which is the switch, and then you use what you want to install it from as a text file. So it'll be my requirements.txt. And because we use pip freeze, we know that it's got the right format. So if I hit enter here, and again, I tell you what, today I give up. My my typing's terrible today. Okay, so you get the spelling right and then it works. So you can see it's collecting all those dependencies from that file. So now I'll have, eventually what I want to aim at is having the new and the original will have exactly the same Python version and dependency packages. And that's why you use a requirements.txt file. That's the aim of it. A lot of the time, a lot of tutorials online will only show you how to create a virtual environment and use requirements.txt to install. They won't show you how to create a new virtual environment based on an existing version of Python and then use requirements.txt files to install the packages. So that's built now. So if I pip list here, I've got all those packages I need. And if I switch my environment, so I go back to my activation, my env old activation. Yeah, you can see it's switched the environment name, new to old, original. And I pip list now, the package dependencies should exactly match. So joblib 1.10, numpy 1.22, 1.5, pip, scikit-learn, etc. You can see the matching. So whatever I deploy in there now, however I run it, it should work. So in VS Code or other editors, if I was then wanted to pick this environment up, I'd have to open a new folder, new file, Python, and then it's want a compiler. So because I've created these new environments, I then want to shove whatever script I've got in that environment path, and I would link it to how you'd actually run projects in VS Code from a previous tutorial that I did. So it shows you how to get VS Code to recognize your environment, so check that out. But that's how you do it. You'd open your interpreter and use that. We're detracting from the point. What I also want to show you is how to create specific versions of Python with the same installs in Anaconda. So open Anaconda and get Anaconda Navigator up. And it's pretty simple in Anaconda. That's what it's built for. Package and dependency management. If I go to my environments window now and I go environments, you can see all the environments that I've got local to me, and this is in terms of Conda environments. To create a new Conda environment, you can go create and give it an environment name. So my original Conda env, and you can specify a package version. It always defaults to the last version in 3.7.11 in Python, but you can click create that way and it'll create that environment. To do it in command, so I'm going to have to go to my command prompt here. So launch command prompt from Anaconda. You can see that the command prompt interface changes slightly. What I want to do is I'm going to go Conda, because I've got my base environment here, base, create new. Can you see this, by the way? Let's just, I want to zoom in a little bit, properties, just make it a little bit larger. Okay, should be able to see that a little bit better. So Conda vm original, let's call it, and Python equals. So what did we use before? We used what was it on the previous parameter? Let me just have a look at my old command prompt. So Python .v 3.7.9. So I should be able to, in command line, install if there's a matching distribution for it, 7.9. Should be able to install 3.7.9 in Anaconda. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to say Anaconda. So this is going to create me this is hopefully going to create me an Anaconda distribution with Python 3.7.9 as we did previously. It's just solving that environment now. So we'll let it spin. Okay. Just let it solve. And while it's doing that, I'll take you through essentially another post that I did on this. So what the aim is here is to create and replicate an Anaconda environment. You can do it with a YAML file, so creation of a YAML file. I'll link these links into the GitHub repo. But another way you can do it is by generating a requirements.txt file from Anaconda. So this is going to take a while, I think, to solve the environment at the moment. It seems to be not playing ball with me very quickly today. Solve that environment, and then what we're going to do is, once the environment's created with the infrastructure, we're going to create a requirements.txt from the Conda environment, assuming the environment gets created. So that is how you can create it in command line. We're going to skip this bit. I'm going to actually go back to the navigator and use an existing environment that I've got to illustrate the point. So here I've got Azure ML Scikit Learn. I'm going to activate my Scikit Learn library. Don't show again. So I'm going to launch when this comes up. Just got to activate the environment. So let's use this AI random forest environment. So I'm going to go home. Hopefully I've already got CMD prompt installed in that environment. Just install it now just for this use case. Just shows you how to work with Anaconda Navigator a little bit more. I tend to use the pip install package management and environment management as default, but sometimes there's a need to do it in Anaconda, so I just thought I'd show you this when it gets done. Apologies, I'm using OBS screen recorder, so there's no option to pause current. Again, correct me if I'm wrong there. Put your comments in the feedback of the YouTube channel. I'm happy to take them on board. And it's getting really dark in England. I'm looking out the window, and it's not doing well at the moment. Oh, come on. Okay, it's installing it at the moment. It's just taking its merry time. As you can see on the bottom, it's installing the Conda shortcut. It'll be there shortly, I think. Okay. So it's loaded it, great stuff. Apologies about that, guys. So I'm going to launch this CMD prompt, and we get working with this virtual environment in Anaconda. So what I'm going to want to do now is I want to basically look at the list of packages that's installed and create a requirements.txt file from it. Okay. So this is a little bit different than we did before. We're going to need a couple of extra commands for doing this. So, okay, I've launched up my environment window here. So that's my pip environment that we created, and this is the Anaconda one. So we're going to pip list what's in this. So there's quite a lot more, and the trouble is by doing it this way, you're going to have some Anaconda stuff that you might want to go through and delete when you create your requirements.txt file. Otherwise it won't work so well. But to do it here, can you remember how we did pip freeze before? So I want to freeze it. This won't work because you can see these link files and stuff like that when you do it through Anaconda. It's not going to work in its current format. So what we're going to do is use a special command. So we're going to use pip list, and we're going to then specify a format tag equal to freeze. So now actually by using that, it's got it into the way that pip likes to work with the packages. So how that's different, if you're using this side, you use pip freeze to specify a list in that way. In this one, you're going to use pip list with a switch format equals an argument, sorry, format equals freeze. And then the only thing I need to do now from this, it's in my, so if I list my directory, it's going to drop it into that user directory. So if I want to create my requirements.txt somewhere else, I'm just going to navigate to my documents, and then I'm going to look at dir again, and I'm going to then change directory to my pi VMs, and I'm going to dir again. Okay, pi VMs, I think it's the other one. CD out of that, CD pi VMs. Okay, let's dir again. There's nothing in there. Anywho, I'm sure I stored some stuff in there. It is pi VMs. Oh, and I've dropped them under there, so I need to change directory to that. Apologies. Okay. So all these are dropped under here. So and I've got my. I thought I wasn't going mad, but then again, you never know. So I want to create it in here. So I'm going to stop at this level, and then we're going to use that. Let's just CLS. We're going to use that special command again, but this time we're going to output it. Pip list. D format equals freeze, and then we're going to specify it out. Conda requirements.txt. Okay, so if I put dir now, I've got Conda requirements.txt. So if I wanted to look at that, just to load it up, you can see it's got it exactly in the right format. But the problem is, when you're trying to use it for a pip install, you then need to go through and look at what's Conda like and what's not, which can become problematic. So you're not probably going to want an IPy kernel if you're installing it into pip, and you're not going to want IPython and all that kind of stuff. So you then need to go through and delete some of these packages, essentially. But that's how you generate a Conda requirements file from Conda, but it needs a little post editing to make it work. I think that's it, guys. That's a real whistle-stop tour of virtual environment creation and how you can go through doing that in Python. So yeah, please subscribe, guys. Hit me up next time. I look forward to seeing you again, and see you on the other side, guys, and have a good week. Okay, bye. And subscribe and like and do whatever you need to. Okay, thanks, guys.